Molly, and I am the owner here at Peaceful and Prenatal. Peaceful and Prenatal is a yoga studio focused solely on perinatal yoga, providing you support from trimester 1 through the 4th trimester. Through these videos, we will be practicing moves that you can take all throughout pregnancy and into postpartum to not only support you, but to support your baby as well. After you've checked in with your healthcare provider, I look forward to sharing my practice with you. If you'd like to learn more about me before beginning, feel free to visit peacefulandprenatal.com. Otherwise, let's meet on the mat. A lot of folks feel like movement is inaccessible to them in that first trimester because we're feeling really tired, we're feeling nauseous, we're just not feeling like ourselves. If that is you, give yourself grace. That is also why I am here with you today. My name is Molly. I am here from Peaceful and Prenatal. And we're going to practice a few moves today to teach us how we can fold forward without bringing everything in our stomach up, keeping everything settled, keeping our nausea at bay. The most important thing when we are moving to keep that nausea down is a steady breath, breathing in through our nose and out through your mouth, nice and slow. The reason it's important to do this is our breath helps to stabilize us all throughout. Also, if we are keeping that mouth closed and clenched, sometimes we feel an increase in saliva in our mouth, and that can make us feel a little more nauseous. So let's keep breathing here together. We're going to meet on the floor here with a blanket and also have a wall nearby because we'll end up on a wall. This blanket's just giving us a little cushion underneath our knees to begin. So keeping your right knee in, step your left foot out to the side. This might be a new movement for you. We call this functional movement. It's teaching our body how to move in a way that is going to be best for us, best for our pregnancy, best for baby. So this hip hinging movement is our hip is this socket joint here and having this hip roll forward and back. So it's our hips moving, keeping everything, keeping our chest nice and tall, keeping everything else down. So bring your hands to the outsides of your hips. Take a nice big inhale. And as you exhale, push your hips behind you. Keep your back nice and flat. Inhale, rise up through center. And exhale, push your hips behind you. Take one more round like this. Beautiful. Let's come up through center. Bring this left foot in and step your right foot out to this side. Edge of your foot nice and planted here. I'm going to turn sideways so you can see how tall our back is staying, how open my chest is, and how everything else is just staying where it is. Take a nice big inhale up top. And as you exhale, push those hip points behind you. Inhale, rise up. Exhale and back. One more time, up through center and back. Lovely. From here, let's go ahead and slide both knees together. You can tent your fingertips here, tent your toes, open your knees nice and wide. We're going to take this blanket and slide it over to the wall. We'll use it in a moment. We're practicing a squat because oftentimes we have other kids at home, we have pets at home, we have things that we need to pick up off of the floor. And that motion of leaning forward may not feel great when we have nausea. Often it doesn't. So an option is to come down into a squat like this. We call this our froggy squat here on our toes. You can also bring your heels in and your toes wide and come into your yogi squat. And that same motion of pushing those hip points behind us keeps that chest nice and open if we do have to pick something up off of the floor. Both this hip hinging motion and coming into the squat. Really great for hip and pelvic mobility, which is always a goal in our prenatal yoga, and really helpful when you get into that 3rd trimester as well. From here, whether you were in your yogi squat or froggy squat, we're going to stand up together. So take an inhale at the bottom. And as you exhale, push out of the earth and stand up tall. Beautiful. You might even feel those glutes kick in, and who doesn't want to have strong glutes, especially during pregnancy? So that same motion that we were taking, folding forward, we're gonna practice this with one foot in front of us and one foot behind us, as if we were standing on railroad tracks here. This can be helpful. So if we're leaning forward, go ahead and practice this hip hinge to lean halfway. You notice that your chest stays tall, everything stays down where it should be. We're protecting this low back, really important as our belly and our baby continue to grow, to protect that back. Inhale here halfway, and exhale, stand up tall. So this motion, go ahead and practice this with your breath a few times. This motion can be really helpful if you are leaning forward to wash dishes, if you have a job where you're standing and leaning forward, rather than having our feet together and hunching through so our chest caves in. It puts extra pressure on our belly. It puts extra pressure on our low back. When we're standing in this position, you can come as wide as it feels good for you, and you lean forward. You're pushing those hip points behind you. I realize that a wide stance like this may not be accessible to you if you are working in a public place where you're standing, but even just having your legs a little bit in a staggered stance will help you to push those hip points behind you and write down or type on a computer, whatever you might be doing. All right. Last thing I want to practice with you is feeling our tailbone and knowing where this is before we make our way down onto the wall. So you may be familiar with cat-cow when we're on hands and knees. Cat-cow may not feel great in your first trimester because it can be a really deep dip and a really big curl through our spine. And again, it's just giving us the motion that doesn't feel so great. So instead, we're gonna practice it standing. Bring your heels to the edges of your mat. If you're not using a mat, no problem, just heels wide, toes out. Tuck your pelvis underneath you. So one hand to your low belly, one hand to your low back. Guide your pelvis so your head, your heart, and your pelvis are in line. Stand up nice and tall, and then sink down. So we start to build strength in the lower body. This allows us to put our hands on our legs here. As you inhale, push that tailbone behind you, open up through your chest. Exhale, tuck that tailbone under. It may just be a slight round here. If it feels okay for you to round like that, feel free to do so. But if you're feeling nauseous at all, inhale, exhale. This is giving us this mobility in this low back, opening up through our chest. Take one more round. Beautiful. And stand on up through center. So that cat-cow standing, yes, it's building that leg strength, which is really great. You could even take it in a more narrow stance and work on your shoulder mobility here. Noticing as we roll forward, we're not really caving into our chest, but just a slight movement of those shoulders to give yourself that shoulder mobility. Let's go ahead and make our way over to a wall to end here, keeping this blanket on the ground. Slowly lower yourself down and come on and just sit with me for a moment here. It is really important that we are protecting our spine, which is why we are using breath work, which is why we are taking spinal mobility for our everyday spinal health. And when we are lowering down, to making sure that we're not putting too much pressure. So the best way to do this is feet come planted on the earth, hands plant on the earth. Lower to your forearms, and then from your forearms, very gently lower down onto your vertebrae. Go ahead and plant your feet on the earth again. We have this blanket near one of our hips. We'll do a little spin move here. So as we spin on the earth, we can bring those legs up above us, actively using exhales to help yourself move. And then when you get here, push your heels into the wall so you can slide this blanket underneath your tailbone and give yourself a little cushion. Then feel free to extend those legs. If it feels okay for you to scoot your hips closer to the wall, feel free to do so. If it feels better for you to have more space, you know your body best. Listen to what it needs. As far as our hands go here, they might be out in a T, You might have one hand to heart and one hand to baby. Maybe it feels best for you to have both palms facing down, grounding yourself even deeper here. Tap back into your breath, in through your nose, out through your mouth. Breathe with me. The other movements we have practiced so far today have all been functional movements to teach us how to move our body, how to open up while keeping our stomach at bay. This move, called legs up the wall, can be very helpful if you are actively feeling nauseous to help reduce that feeling of nausea. What this does for us is this puts our body in an inversion. In yoga, we often think of an inversion as a headstand or a handstand, but we don't have to come into an intricate pose to create an inversion. It simply means having our feet higher than our heart. And that's exactly what we're doing here using the wall. If you are feeling nauseous, you can take this in bed. You can bring your feet over the top of the headboard. You can stack a few pillows and have your knees on the edges of the pillows and your legs draped across. You can take it with a chair or a couch. There are many ways to access this pose. But what this pose is doing us for here is first, it's starting to regulate imbalances in our body. So this really taps into a lot of our different systems. It's tapping into our circulatory system and it's starting to increase the blood flow moving in the opposite direction. It is also increasing our lymphatic fluids and reversing the flow of the lymphatic fluids in the opposite direction. In that third trimester, if we're feeling warm, this can be really helpful with that increase of circulation to reduce swelling. And this helps bring us back into a grounded position. It helps everything to come down through center, and it allows our breath to travel all the way through us as well. So if you are actively feeling nauseous, this is a great pose to take for about 5 minutes or so. And if right now you're taking this video because you are feeling nauseous, feel free to stay here. If you're ready to come out of this pose, plant feet on the wall so your knees are bent. And as you exhale, roll over onto your left hip. We come onto our left side, as this is the way that our digestive tract works here. So this left lying pose can also be really helpful for indigestion when you're feeling nauseous. And instead of using our core to bring us up through center, we are going to use our arms and our forearms. Press up through center as you feel ready. If you are having a day where you are feeling tired, you are feeling nauseous, be kind to yourself, give yourself grace, treat yourself with compassion. You may feel like you're not doing a lot, but you're growing a baby, and that's a lot of hard work. Thank you so much for sharing your time, your energy, and your practice here with me this morning. The light in me sees and honors the light in you. Namaste.